All right, everyone, welcome to Mindset Mastery. My name is Suzanne Hart, and today's topic is your language teaching other people how to treat you? It is going to be an exciting topic. We are going to be talking about the stories we tell ourselves and the words we use and how it teaches people how to treat us, and then what we speak into the world, the stories we tell the world, and how that might be teaching people how to interact with you. Then we're going to give you a little twist as to the blessing if you actually make a shift and do something very powerful with that story. Before we jump into it, what I'd like you to do is, as you join us, welcome. Please put your name, your business, what you do, and who you serve in the comment section. This is our opportunity to network and learn a little bit about you. And if you're listening to the replay, #replay, absolutely do the same. Put your name, what you do, who you serve in the comment section, and where you're joining us from, so people can get a sense of who you are and what you're called to do and how you're called to serve. All right, the other thing I'm going to ask you to do is bless a life. And what I mean by that is share this live. Share it with a friend who needs this information. Share it with someone who owns a business. Share it with someone whose maybe communication isn't as powerful as it may need to be. Why? Because communication is a top success skill or habit, if you will. And you know me, I love habits, because that's where the rubber hits the road, because that's the actions we put into the world. So let's get this started, because I am really excited about the woman sitting beside me. So I want to just jump off. So once again, my name is Suzanne Hart. Our topic today is your language the words you use teaching people how to treat you? We are going to be talking about the stories we tell ourselves and the stories we put into the world and the impact of those stories. Now, beside me is a dear friend. We go way back. I knew this woman when we were in Montreal. I used to be in awe of her. She was like my big sis. And in the work field, I just loved everything she did. She seemed so put together. She still is. And I just wanted to be like her. Truly. This woman is an editor, an intuitive editor to boot, and she's the founder of Creative Consulting. So I want you to welcome my good friend, Deborah Ferdinand. Hey, hon.
Hi, how you doing?
I am awesome. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm so happy to be here. So happy to see you again. So happy to talk about words and about communication. And I have to say, it's absolutely wonderful that you've taken a focus on mastering skills and communication being part of what I really love. It's the joy of my life that you're realizing and you're letting people know the importance of the words that we choose. Every word that we choose says something about you. And whether the receiver is taking that in consciously or unconsciously, you've just laid out a story of your life and they walk away thinking that's who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? One of the things I ask is, are you talking or are you truly communicating? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Words, as you know, have energy, and they paint beautiful or not so beautiful pictures.
Exactly. And as an intuitive writer, words on paper mean absolutely nothing to me. What it is the essence behind those words. What is the person really trying to say? And I've got to tell you, every book that I've edited, unless it's a coaching book or a book on philosophy, but if it's a book that you're talking about something that's happened in...
Deb, what exactly is an intuitive editor?
As an intuitive editor, I go beyond the words. I look at the essence of really what you're trying to say. I initially start off with just the basics, the commas, question marks, all those things. And then once I sit back and I start looking at the story, I see that there's much more to it. And it's not a matter of the writer is not writing it. The writer is not telling it.
Ooh.
Yes.
What? Okay, so explain what's the difference between writing it and telling it, because I think you're going exactly where I want this to go.
Sometimes when you start telling the truth about what you're doing, you make realizations about yourself, and then sets in a type of embarrassment, a type of guilt, a type of shame, a type of feeling that people are going to judge you. So you flower up those words to mean something else.
Filter it, if you will.
Yes,
Clean it up.
exactly.
Okay, good. Okay.
And I go beyond that filter. So if you're doing that writing, you're taking that into your communications with the world outside. So when you're chatting with someone, again, you really choose what you are going to tell them, so they walk away with a story about you and a vision and a conception of you. Sometimes if you're not careful of your words, and there are people who are very lax in the things that they would say, well, I'm really not that interested in it. And that says a whole lot about someone.
Okay.
So it's choosing your words very carefully, and it's a very conscious thing. And what I've done over the years, and I tell people this, is as I was growing up, I mimicked other people.
Yeah, me too. Totally.
Yeah. You mimicked other people because you liked what they had. Mm-hmm. You liked the way they spoke. You liked the choice of their words, and you mimicked them.
Yeah, yeah.
And from there, it becomes your own. So this is what I do, and this is where it leads into this, that I don't let people get away with flowering things over. If you are going to tell your story, tell the truth. The truth empowers.
So it's interesting because there's two pieces to this that's so key for communication. So I'm going to start with the looking good piece, right? So, Tria, who does my social media, we talk about how people get on Facebook and they want to look really good. So they put their best foot forward. They paint this picture of my life is perfect. And what they don't realize is they're putting distance between themselves and the other person. So what you're saying is that there's two things that can happen, is that you can come across so wanting to look good and wanting to be possibly something you're not yet. And you think that's what you're putting into the world, but what people experience is inauthenticity. They experience a distance. They experience that something's just not right. They may not be able to put their finger on it, but they walk away going, So Deb, what exactly is an intuitive editor? Because I've never heard that before.
What I am is a cognitive intuitive editor. So I work on the cognitive part, which is my message gets to all the different levels of your brain. The intuitive part is that I look much deeper than the words that you're giving to me. They're just words. They're really not communicating in some cases of really what you're trying to say. A lot of times people will hide their true story or present something that's much more comfortable for an audience or someone that they've met at a meeting to digest versus the truth. So what I do is I look beyond that, and it's not even a matter of looking, it's just a very strong, overwhelming feeling that I get that it's not right. In all my years of editing, of 6 years as a professional editor, anyone I've called out, they've either cried and said, yes, this is the truth, or they've said, you've caught me. And I say, well, you've got to tell the truth, because from A to B, when the client gets to C, they're going to know something is off. People may not know it on a conscious level, but in an unconscious level, you sometimes say, there's just something off about this. And it really boils down to how the person communicated themselves to you, their choice of words.
Let's go a little bit deeper, because I think there's two things at play here. So you're talking about, one is people wanting to look good for their audience and put on that face. Be the professional, be the expert, and in doing so, they're not putting all themselves in the space. And if I'm hearing you correctly, because I've had this happen, where you'll meet someone and they'll speak to you and you're like, something's off. And I think what people don't really know is body language never lies.
Yeah.
Your words are saying one thing, but your body language and your energy is telling the person something else. And because it's misaligned, it's not in full alignment, the person walks away and goes, I'm not sure what was off, but something was, right? That is so interesting. And so this is one of the questions I have. Then how much do you tell? How much truth do you put in there? Because the other part of where I want to go is sometimes people put stuff in there and you're like, oh, no, that's not the story you need to tell.
That's, again, where I step in and I say we have to craft this differently. It may be something that might be traumatic. It might be something that's morally on the line. But again, it's how you communicate it. It's how your choice of words that you use. And again, the cognitive part to it, you're appealing to the different senses of that person. So somewhere in there, by choosing the right words, and again, this does not only apply to editing, this applies to daily life. By choosing the right words, you're appealing to the person on various levels. One of those levels is going to strike a chord where the person is going to say, aha, I understand this person now. And really, communication is really all about that, getting your message across clearly to someone. But again, people just don't understand the importance of words. They just throw them around, not realizing the consequences to the other person and the image it leaves of you. Mm-hmm. Let's take a little bit of a throwback. When guys started getting the real hip hop talk and walk and all that, what did we all think? Look what happened. They got all put into a certain group of bums. They're illiterate. They're this, they're that, because of the language that they chose to speak.
And the context in which they spoke to speak it in.
Yes. Yeah. So it is all those things. You bring it forward into the business world, into the corporate world. If you're going to stand in front of a group of people and you're not authentic, no one's going to buy into it. It doesn't matter what you're telling them. No one's going to buy into it. If your story, sorry, go ahead, please.
No, it's so one of the things you're talking about is authenticity and a certain level of transparency.
Exactly.
Right. So I guess a question, and I know people are probably listening going, well, how much transparency is good transparency and how much is too much?
That depends on your audience. And that is another area in communication. You need to gauge your audience. I'll give you a quick example. I've done other networking sessions where I've ran with people. So my facilitators, one of them is very much into the emotion of women and trauma and things like that. So we're sitting at the meeting and we're talking to different people, men and women in the room, and he introduces that topic as we're talking about moving on in your business. And if you've had a trauma such as this, and the room just went silent. Mm-hmm. And this is a very versed gentleman, but I had to let him know after, you didn't gauge this audience. People came here to hear about finances, growing their business. They didn't come to here to discuss or open up about their trauma. So it's choosing your audience. It is always choosing your audience and knowing your audience before you start on any sort of deep disclosure level. Because again, those will be judgments made of you. People will walk away, well, that's their story. Do I want to deal with them? So it's knowing your audience and knowing when to tell your audience, going in on a deeper level.
And you know, and you're also touching on something else. So it's knowing your audience and knowing what to share, right?
Yes.
But I think at the same time, it's also how you share what you share with any audience. Because I remember going to an event and people were telling their stories. And when I walked away feeling totally disempowered. And I walked away feeling, oh my gosh, that day was so heavy, so hard. I wasn't inspired. And they didn't come across as experts to me, although that they were wanting to come across as experts. And the flaw in it was how the story was told. And I really want to highlight this because you know me, I love storytelling, and we've both talked about the structure and how a story is told. And it was almost like they told the beginning of the story. And, you know, and Tribal Leadership is one of my favorite books in terms of language and leadership capacity. And they say that when someone feels like a victim and they feel disempowered, their language will be, this world sucks, life sucks, my life sucks, that sort of thing. And it's language of being victimized or being the victim. And so one of the things that I listen for, and people I think listen to for unconsciously, is that sometimes people will put language into the marketplace, language into the world that says, I am the victim and life is happening to me. And they don't realize that if you are in the entrepreneurial space and you're signing up to be someone's mentor, their guide, their expert, you can't be putting language that leads people having you be, I'm the victim and life is happening to me. And so I think oftentimes when we're talking about communication is a lot of times people aren't aware that they're either casually putting that into the space or they're not completing their communication and they're leaving people with that's what they walk away with.
Exactly that. And I've had the opportunity to be involved in books such as that. And I have to go back to the client because they're still in the victim mode to let them know that they need to finish it off with an empowerment. What lesson can you teach the audience? Because people, again, will walk away and say, oh, you know, I could have done something more than that. You know, why did this person stop at this? And more importantly, why did I read this story? I didn't get anything out of it. I walked away feeling weak, lack of empowerment, scratching my head, wondering why. And you don't want to do that again. We're talking about a book. This happens in real life to us all the time. All the time. We've all been at events, networking events, where you politely just walk away from someone. They approach you, they shake their hand, and they just tell you everything that is not good.
Or even as you're scrolling through social media and you'll see the rants, the I am a victim of this situation, and people are just putting their stuff out there. And then in the next post, they're showing up as I'm the expert. And for me, I'm like, okay, I just saw this post. You were like, woo. And it's not to not be authentic. It is to really watch the context of what you're putting into the marketplace or what you're putting into the world and the impact of it. And it's not that we can't have moments, because let me tell you, I'm the master of the pity party when I'm going to have one. But I have it with, I have the context to have that because we're all human, but I'm not in the role of being anybody's expert at that time. I'm having my human moment with my private self and my friends or my support system.
My number one piece of advice I give to everyone, whether it be in an email, whether it be in social media, whether it would be in speech, stop and think. Do not let your emotions and your ego take control. Because once that happens, your ego is going to find some choice words to say that you're going to pay for after. And really, and I've lived that. This is not just something I'm saying because I'm an editor. I've lived that.
Yeah, I think we've all have.
Put it in draft. Keep it in your mouth. Bite your tongue. Think about it before you write it. Self-edit. Whether you're writing, whether you're speaking, even when you're thinking, self-edit.
Let's talk thinking for a moment.
Yeah.
you knew I had to stop.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk thinking for a moment because I think oftentimes what we also don't pay attention to is the story that's running inside my head often shows up here and often shows up here. And people will be going into power meetings, they'll be going on stage, they'll be going all these different places, and they'll be wondering what's off. And what they haven't realized is the story that you've been telling yourself here.
Yes.
And it might be day in, day out. It might be before that meeting. It might be whenever. It's manifesting energetically or here or in your body language. And so it really is important to be conscious of what's running you, what story are you telling yourself, and sometimes consistently and persistently. How is it showing up in your energy, and how does it frame your speaking or lack or not speaking, or sometimes lack of speaking, right?
Exactly. Every one of us, it doesn't matter what level, Zen level you're on, you have a story running through your head. It's just the way the human brain works.
Absolutely.
And every day for all of us, it should be, I shouldn't say a struggle, but it should be something we should be attentive to. Truly be attentive to what stories you tell yourself. Because if you don't check on those stories, the moment you walk out of your safe enclave, you open your mouth and it all comes out.
Helps that. Yeah.
So how was your day, Suzanne? Oh, it was really crappy. It was lousy, blah, 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 blah. That's the story you've told yourself. What about looking?
The story you've told the world.
Exactly. And the world is going to treat you like that. I don't want to talk to you if all you're going to talk about is that you had this lousy day and your life is this and your life is that.
Or the other part is, I may talk to you, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, I'm never hiring you.
Exactly.
I'm not going to, you're not reliable. Your life is like this. I'm making and we say we don't do it, but let's just be real. I'm making a judgment call based on what you spoke into the world. And particularly if you more consistently than not speak that into the world.
Exactly. And even if you are speaking that and you're still efficient at what you do in your business, all your credibility has been eroded. Because you may be saying things like, yeah, I was running late for this. Oh, I'm always late. I don't want to deal with someone who keeps saying I'm always late. What does that mean? But that's the story you're running in your head, that you're always late.
You're making such a good point because, I say that there's a formula for success, and skills is one piece, but attitude is an equally important piece. And you can have all the skills in the world, but if your attitude, which is your energetics, the way you manage your emotions, is not in check, then that's how we hear it through our languaging, then oftentimes people are like, I don't care how much skills you have.
Mm-hmm.
This is what matters. I have a friend who is he's a NBA coach, and he's a top college recruiter. And when I ask him, like, how do you choose your players? Because, when you get to that level, everybody's gifted. And he says, when you get to a certain level, skills are here. Everybody's skilled. Everybody's talented. Everybody has gifts. He says, what really is the defining factor is attitude. And when we sit down with them, what they tell us, listen to this, what they tell us about themselves. And he says it's behavior, it's talk, it's environment, it's their posture, it's their swagger, it's how quickly they get frustrated. He says they speak and they tell us their attitude. And you can be way more talented than another player, but we don't want to spend time managing attitude. So we will not choose that person. And in the marketplace, it is the exact same thing.
Yes, it is. Yeah. You coming with an attitude. When I teach Networking 101, I tell people it starts at home. Before you leave the house, you look at yourself in the mirror. You make sure that you're appropriately dressed for the occasion, whatever it is, whether it's a casual, semi-casual, but you're dressed for the occasion. But more importantly, this is dressed. You're going in with what you want to do. You're going in with a very positive and friendly attitude. You're going in with an open arms attitude. You're going in with a collaborative attitude. You're going in with, I want to find out about you. You tell me about you. And from that, I will tell you about me, because now we've opened up the lines of communication. But if this is not set and you walk into that room, you're going to be asking for a sale when nobody wants. We're not here to talk sales. No one wants to buy from you because that's all you're talking about. This is the best for me. I met a gentleman a couple times over the years at networking events. He knows who I am. He knows that I'm a writer editor. Each and every time I meet him, he shakes my hand and he says, "You know, I wrote a book, eh? Would you like to buy it?" Yeah. Yeah. So what happens at the networking event is I sit back and I watch people interact with him, and I watch the length of time they interact with him. It's very short.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next thing you know, he's standing in the middle of the room by himself, and he has no reason. He doesn't know why.
So this is the interesting thing, because we talk about the story that you tell, right? But now you're talking about the lack of story that you tell.
Exactly.
And this is so important for people to understand. So we talked about, the story that you tell the world can't be the story of victim, and it can't be the story of poor me, and it can't be the story of life happens to me. And we're gonna come. I want to come back to this because all of us have had that, and that is power, and that is money if you know how to tell that story. But at the same time, you must have a story to tell. And so one of the things that most people don't realize, and Deb, you can really confirm this because you read story after story, is if you don't have a story to tell, you actually can't sell a product.
Mm-hmm. Because now you're nobody. You're nobody. You mean nothing. You're a symbol. You're nothing. People want to buy from people that they like and know.
I really want people to get this, because if you just come up and go, here's my widget, here's my gadget, here's my book, here's my thing, and you don't have a story to tell, because story creates the word engagement.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. It also ETRs, earns you the right to do something. It
Yes.
creates connection. It is how I get to know you. So if you don't have a story to tell, then you aren't in a position to make that sale. And when people go to networking, they want to sell, which is the sale, but they forget the connection. They forget the enrollment. They forget that I got to get to know you. You got to like me. You got to trust me. I have to give you a reason why I am the person that you want to partner with, collaborate with, buy from. All that happens through story, does it not?
And another thing, the responsibility also falls on the receiver. I'll give you an example. So your bracelets are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
And then you would ask, as the receiver, how did you come to make these designs? Sometimes we'll meet a brand new entrepreneur, and it's really our duty to mentor them without telling them that they need a story to better sell their product. We need to elicit that story from them. Mm-hmm. And as a mentor, you will ask this person, so how did you come to make these bracelets? And you hear a full story out of it. And you hope with the smile that you give them back and the purchase that they realize there's a connection here. Absolutely. She liked my story. She smiled at me. She not only bought one bracelet, she bought 4 or more. This is what people don't realize.
But this is the thing, though. And I'm just going to be real. You're not going to meet many mentors in the marketplace that are going to teach you on the spot how to connect and create the story. What we're really wanting you to really get is that, there's the saying, facts tell and stories sell. So our act of being able to tell stories, your story, the right story, the story that has people get to know you, is so key. So Deborah, you said 2 things. A few things. You said, one is your story has to be authentic.
Yes.
And it has to give people insight into you, and not just you, the expert, but your passion, your heart, your what makes you do what you do. I was reading a book and they said the heart is where real decisions are made. The head is where temporary decisions are made. And when the heart and the head meet, that's called the heart zone, by the way, name of the company. When the heart and the head meet, that's where a long-term decision is made, a really good long-term decision. But yes, the heart has to be involved. And how you get people's heart involved is through story, because stories are the emotional things.
They truly are. When I engage with a client on a first intake, I listen to them. I ask them how the book came about. And inevitably, there's something that they would say that would make me say, for example, oh my gosh, I went to that high school, or oh my gosh, I went to Montreal, or oh my gosh, I know that person. And that's where you have to start taking it further, because you start delving into who the person is. Again, I love that word essence, the essence of that person. And if that essence resonates with you, you will purchase, you will engage with that person, and it works both ways. So what I look for is the essence in the person, and what I hope they find in me is the essence that I have, that there is a connection. And that's all you're really trying to do with communication, is pass a message along, make an impact, make some sort of movement, a shift with your words. And as you know, sometimes a shift can be a negative shift, again, because of the choice of words, or it can be a very positive shift. And it's really choosing your words.
So I love the word essence, because when you were talking about your authentic self, your authentic self gives people the sense of your essence. Yes. So let's go back a moment, because you said, you know, we talked about, you got to tell the real story. And then we talked about, you got to know how to tell the real story, and you got to know the context for the real story, and it's how you tell the story. And so oftentimes when we start our story, most stories start with I always call it like the downward spiral, right? Life is out of control, and I feel like a victim.
Yes.
And all good stories kind of go that way, right? Is that there's a problem, and my life is out of control, and I haven't figured out how to solve this problem. But this is where the magic happens, and this is why stories work, and this is what I want you to elaborate on. Is there's a point, I call it, there's a point in the story where the person makes a decision, they have an aha moment, they have a paradigm shift, and they go from victim to reclaiming their power, right? Can you talk about that piece and how key that is in story?
The whole purpose of a story, whether it is an economics book or whatever, the bottom line is to empower someone, to make them move forward into life, to make them think about things, to make them wonder, to make them feel what you're feeling. It's all about that. And if you choose to wallow in your negativity, you're not going to get over that fence for the next part. As an editor, if I come to a part in the book where the person has not made that shift over, I have to stop. We have to sit down, and I either have to refer them back to a coach such as yourself to work through all that. Because you cannot tell a story if it ends bad. It just doesn't happen. And I don't necessarily mean roses and rainbows, but there has to be some sort of empowerment. There has to be some reason. When you sit down to tell any story, whether it is written, whether it's verbal, the key thing you have to ask is why? Why am I telling this story?
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. What am I going to get out of this? Why am I telling this story? Am I telling it to impress people? Am I telling it to empower people? The worst is I'm telling it to get it off my chest. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
In real life, just getting it off your chest just doesn't work. You have to work through things. So again, it really just boils down to the why. Really, why are you writing this? And once you know why you're writing, or why you're even communicating the way you are, then you can take a step back and resolve this. And I think you can go with that. I mean, why would you stand up and say something so negative about yourself because of the story that's continuously running in your head, and then expect people to engage with you?
You know, this is so powerful, because when I teach storytelling, one of the things I really highlight is that every story that you tell, from the stage, from the front of a room, in an interaction or an engagement, must have a purpose. And you, before that story comes out of your mouth, you have to know where you're taking that person.
Yes.
Right? What's the purpose of that story? What's the end result that you want them to get from that story? And if that place is not in empowerment, if that place isn't lessons, if that place isn't all those pieces, then you have to question the purpose of telling the story.
Exactly.
So really what we're talking about is, yes, the story may start where life is out of control. And, you know, I tell my story about the little girl who got bullied and didn't stop talking and so on and so forth. But there comes a point in that story where I have a shift. And and this is the thing I want everybody to get, and I take back control of my life. I take back my own power. I decide I am not going to be this person, i.e. victim, anymore. Life is no longer going to happen to me. And that's the moment that the story has a purpose.
Yes.
Until then, that was the context of this is what happened. If you don't get to this place where this is the shift that happened to me, and this was when I took my power back, and this is when I decided no longer to be the victim, then the story actually has no purpose.
Well, that's the same thing, again, when you're networking and interacting with someone or sitting trying to put together a sale. You tell a little bit about yourself. If there was something that was, it doesn't matter whether good or bad, but what was the catalyst for you to be doing what you're doing now? For me, for example, my story is I came to Ontario 10 years ago from Quebec, had no clue what I wanted to do, but every one of my friends who heard that I was in Ontario would hit me up. Hey, Deb, could you review this article for me? Hey, Deb, could you, oops, sorry about that. Hey, Deb, could you do, oh my gosh. Hey, Deb, could you do this for me? Could you read this for me? And then I came to the realization that I had something there. And then I had to stop and say, why are they asking me to do it?
Yeah.
Because I've had this talent all my life as an intuitive writer and editor, and my parents had me on a typewriter. As they were doing their masters, they'd be walking around the kitchen dictating to me what to type on the typewriter for their masters. Okay, you're trusting an 18-year-old to do all this. And that's all part of my story. And when people realize how long I have been doing this unprofessionally, then they realized that people were calling on me when I still had not made this my profession. And then they realize how much I laugh when I tell the stories of the writing that I had to do for my parents and just all the funny things that happened. Next thing you know, they're saying, that's the editor for me.
Right. Now, this is so beautiful, because what your story just did was gave me the context for your business, why your business exists. What's the backdrop for your business? You gave me the emotional pieces. Now you've got me engaged. Now, this is the other thing, and I've said this on other lives as we're talking about communication. You have separated yourself suddenly from every other editor. And if I'm your client, if I'm the client, because I believe that the person you're looking for is looking for you. We talked about that last week. So if I'm your client, I'm going to listen to that story. And I'm going to relate and say, that's my person.
Yes.
That's my person. And so the beautiful thing about story is it separates you from the marketplace. And at some point you went from writing like, I kind of do this writing thing, to having an aha moment when people started calling you and saying, could you do this? 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 Right? And now you're like, this is why I do what I do. I've been doing it like kind of in my sleep for as long as I've known. I love it. Yeah. I come to it naturally. And this is why I do what I do. And so now you've given me the backdrop. Yeah. Right? You give me the backdrop. And one of the things that I've also, what I teach is, if you haven't learned lessons in your story, then it's not the story to tell.
Exactly. Exactly, exactly.
Why is that?
You can't come through unscathed. You can't come through perfect. There's lessons. I mean, you know, I think back on my life, and it's not until I engage in a conversation like this with you or with other people about communication that I realize communication has been the basis of my success.
It's the basics of everybody's success.
Yeah. I am successful because I can communicate. People understand where I'm coming from. I understand their pain. There's so many experiences that we all have in life, and they all intertwine. It's you've had a little bit of somebody else's experience. This is the sharing in communication that brings people forward. One of my favorite little snippets of story I like to tell people. It was January 6th, 2014, my birthday. I think it was my 57th, or I don't know, somewhere around there. And I snapped out of bed. It was a snowstorm. I drove to the government office. I walked in, I put a piece of paper down on the counter. I was the only person there. It was a big snowstorm on a Monday. And I said, I want the government to help me start a writing business. And the woman just looked at me and she says, well, we can't help you here. And then she saw my eyes start to fill up with tears. And then she pointed and she says, if you take one of those pamphlets, someone over in that grouping can help you. I took the pamphlet, went to my car, cried some more. The snow is now covered my car. And I go, you go home and you could crawl back into bed and that'll be the end of it. You can't support yourself. Or you can go to that other government office and walk in and be vulnerable and say, I need help. I have a good idea for a business. I'm really good at what I do. And the key is they would not have helped me when I went to that second office, which I walked in. Well, everything was dried and frozen on my face, but I was still crying. But they would not have helped me if I was not able to compose myself and show the confidence that I have in what I need to build. And again, I told them my story of what led me to that room that day. And they understood my dedication, my perseverance to get where I wanted to go. And when you are vulnerable and you tell your truth and you communicate it out to people, people will understand. They're not going to feel sorry for you. They're going to feel an empathy for you. They're going to understand what you're going through, and they're going to offer you help, whether it is purchasing your product or, in my case, enrolling me into a government program.
And you know what's beautiful about that is one of the key things that is the connection in the sales process is empathy, yes. Right? Can I relate to you? Do I feel something in alignment with you? Are you telling me something that triggers something in me? And so for me, when I hear that story, I'm like, oh, I can feel that. Yeah. Right. And so I think a big part of it is when we use story, remember I said, people buy long-term decisions are made in the heart, right? And justified by the head. But decisions that are made here and never meet here are often short-term decisions. And so when you are able to connect with someone here through story, and then they go check, because it's almost like you got me. Now I'm going to go check and see if you can do what you do.
Exactly.
That's the process. And oftentimes what we do when we are in the sales process is we come at people with data and information. And here's my book. Did I tell you I'm an author? Did I tell you I'm an author? Will you buy my book? And they're like, I don't know you. I have no emotional attachment to you. I have no feeling of you. I don't know your essence, as you say.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Yeah, there's no attachment there at all with someone. So again, it's, stories that we do tell dictate our lives. They really do, much more than business. It's everything in our lives. It dictates how people treat you, how they think about you, how they view you. I've gotten feedback from people as to how they see me, and I'm always quite surprised. And then I sit back and say, well, no, you
Yeah.
spent the last 50 years crafting communication,
Yeah,
crafting
absolutely.
simplicity, crafting in a short sentence. I like to convey something that mentally stimulates you, something that stimulates your heart, something that might even make your body giggle a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's what you need to do. And it is really not hard for us to do that. Just think of how you would like to be spoken to. Think of the words that you would like to hear. Think of how you not want to hear a whole load of negativity coming at you, especially if someone is self-loathing.
Mm.
So,
And I just want to go back to the lessons, because I know when when I work with you, it's about the lessons. It's about the, what did you learn? What did you learn? What are you going to teach? What are you going to learn? Share.
sorry. Sorry.
True,
Yeah.
true. But this is what I think the piece that's so key, that I want everyone to take away from this, because when you step into a sales process,
Yeah.
and you're saying to someone, buy this from me, you are now coming to them as the messenger or the guide, right? You are
Yeah.
coming to them as, I'm your messenger, I'm your guide, I'm the mentor, I'm the expert, I'm the person that's going to take you where you want to go. That's how we're coming.
Yes.
And so in order for that to be believable in your story, you have to show them the overcoming, the lessons, the insights, the knowing. And sometimes we talk about my 7-step process. So mindset mastery, my mastermind, there's seven steps, 4 areas of mastery, 7 steps. Those are all my learnings, my ahas, my struggles and the overcoming of it, and I can share them with you in my story. But in order to qualify as someone's guide, or the expert author, or the one who's writing the manual or the how-to, I have to share with you how I became the messenger,
Exactly.
how I became the guide.
Yeah.
And it's not just because I decide to hang out a shingle,
yeah,
and give myself a fancy name. That's the power of story, and that's the power of books. And I think what you do so well is help people, one, craft the story, but also pull out those lessons, called chapters, by the way.
yeah, yeah, exactly that. Exactly. Yeah. Well, you said a key word there, craft. What I consider what I do is a craft. I really, it's taken me a number of years to express how good I know that I'm what I'm doing. And the reason being, I hope a lot of your viewers understand this, is that this is not my gift. This was a gift that was given to me.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And when I realized that from an early age, I worked on it, because it would be a waste not to. And with that gift, I'm able to take what I do one step further. I take a look at what you have and really make it your story, your truth. So getting a story from where, let's say, you've had the trauma, the issues. I'll use myself as an example, the struggle to get started. The story would start off such as that. I came to Ontario. I didn't have a job. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Friends, were asking on me the day I went to the government, then started the program. And then the aha moments started. And it's from there that you start building, say, now that I've learned this and now that I've learned that, I understand how you're feeling. Let me tell you what's the next step you can possibly do.
Yeah.
Let me empower you to know that you can overcome this obstacle. So not only when I'm doing an interview with someone, on the first interview, never am I trying to sell them anything. I just want to get to know them.
Absolutely.
And I want them to get to know me. And the decision is really up to them whether they want to party with me or not. But I'm also honest with them. I let them know that I'm intuitive, so you're not going to be able to hide anything. I let them know that I'm a bit of an empath. So there are going to be days that I'm just not going to want to write because your story just does not move me to write.
Yeah.
And that's what differentiates me. And that's why when someone gives me a story about themselves, I let them know that it's your life. Mm-hmm. This is your baby. You've got to treat it right. You've got to have a flow to it. It started. Now, what are you going to do with it? All this has happened to you. How are you going to get people to the next stage to believe you, to believe that you've overcome that, to believe that you are the person to come to for services? Because no matter what someone writes, what I edit for, they have some sort of profession. So at the end of it, they're still asking people to believe them and to understand them on their story and then come to them on a professional level for whatever services that they're offering. So it's just getting over that hump, and a lot of times they need help.
And you know what you're leaving me with as we close, Deborah, is that if I am in the marketplace and I am not able to convey a story as to why I do what I do and the journey that got me to this place where I am now your messenger, your guide, your expert, your mentor, then I really have to go back and go, am I doing that? Is this what I'm called to do? Yes. Because if there's not a journey that got you there, that moves you and is built in the highs and the lows and the ups and the downs and you're pulled to it because there's an emotional attachment. And I rarely ever use the word attachment. So
yeah, that's a scary word. That's a very scary word, but I understand it in this case. Right? Yes.
There's an emotional energy to why you do what you do. If you can't find that story, then you got to go. I'm recommending you go back and do the work, because it's either you're not doing the thing you're called to do, or you're not at the level where you're ready to do it. And that's and you may be skilled, because skills is not the only thing that makes the business. A big part of what makes the business in the marketplace is the why we do what we do, and the heart and soul and passion that calls us to serve someone else.
Exactly that. And if you can't get the word out about that, it's all about your credibility, your authenticity. It's all about you. It really doesn't matter what you're selling. It's really all about you. If you've got to bring your A game all the time, and that doesn't mean packing a whole bunch of pie charts and graphs and things like that. Nobody cares about that stuff. Why do you think we had all these liquid lunches that go on, and golf and teeing off and whatever the men do? Well, a lot of women do that now too, but this is all in getting to know the person, getting to know their story. They have a wife, they have children, their kids are going here. It's all these things. And then you say, yeah, I trust Gary. Yeah, you go buy from Gary. He's a great guy. Yeah. Did you know his wife works for so-and-so? And that's how the world works.
Yeah, the liquid lunches. I love it. But that's what it is. It's storytelling time.
Yes, it is.
Golf and storytelling time.
Yes, it's very much storytelling.
Storytelling time.
Yeah.
I love it. So Deborah, thank you so much. So Deborah from Creative Consulting Services, where can people find you and how can they connect with you?
I'm very fortunate that the job that I do, the craft that I have, I can work internationally. So I am located in Canada. However, I work with American clients. I've worked with British clients, and I can be reached at creativeconsultingservices.ca or Deborah at creativeconsultingservices.ca. I can be reached at. You're under no obligation other than to get in touch with me and tell me your story, make me laugh, make me smile, make me cry. We can see if we can connect. You may not have a book that is ready to be edited. You may just have an idea. And this is a key thing. Everyone has a story that they want to tell. Everyone believes there's something that has happened in their life that can empower other people, but they don't know where to start. One feature that we offer is that we help people to make that initial step, to let them know, yes, people do want to hear your story. And that's another thing. You may have a story, but you think, nobody wants to hear this. People want to hear your story. People want good stories. They want stories of survival. They want stories of hope. And that should be a big why when you're writing your book, that you are offering hope to people.
Yeah, that is every story. Every story must offer hope.
You must offer hope at the end of it. Yeah.
So everyone, I want you to get this. So this is my second interview with Ms. Deborah Ferdinand, my second one. So when you put mastermind in the comment section, we are going to give you the audio from the first interview with this. The first one was she was in rare form. We were in rare form. There was a synergy. You want to get this one. So mastermind in the comment section. We will hook you up with the audio from that interview. Yum, it's good. That's all I'm saying.
That was an excellent interview. There's a lot of good tips in there. And I think people will get a lot of aha moments about themselves from that audio. They're going to hear themselves in there going, oh my gosh, that was me. Because we both revealed a lot of what it was growing up and what led us to be good, I don't even want to say good, excellent communicators. And what brought us to this point. And so I think people, please, I really would suggest that you tune into that. Some wonderful snippets on how to bring your A game in terms of communication, your verbal, physical, emotional, everything together. And as always, amazing chatting with you.
It is. We got to hang out more often. I have been speaking with the beautiful Deborah Ferdinand, Creative Consulting Services. You want to put mastermind in the comment section. My name is Suzanne Hart. I will be back here next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another Mindset Mastery conversation. Blessings, take care, and we will talk to you soon.